Hello, my name is Josh Kirkham. I'm the founder of Happy Little Landscapes. We do oil paintings and teaching classes. I am very thankful that you purchased our class today. And this is what we're going to create today. We went with a very simple painting. 3 colors is all you're going to need. Just a few tools, a couple brushes, and we're going to just teach you step by step how to create something this beautiful with this very limited amount of colors, right? So I know you guys are excited. We're going to stop blabbing on. I have a tendency to blab, so if you're yelling at your TV screen like, just get to the painting. I know, right? So we're going to do it, and we're going to do it just like this. Hi guys, Josh, Happy Little Landscapes. Welcome to the Happy Little Landscape Studio. First off, I want to thank you guys for purchasing my class today, right? That's what we're going to call it. So there's going to be a few things we're going to need. Obviously, you need a place to paint, right? So you're going to need an easel, a canvas. There's a few brushes we're going to use today and tools. So we're going to use the palette knife. If you've never used a palette knife before, it's very simple. I will show you exactly how to do it, okay? We have a little micro liner brush. You can use a script liner, just something with a sharp edge to it. Very easy. Any old fan brush. I like the size 10. You don't want to go too much bigger than that, right? It's going to be real difficult if you do. And then we have our Bob Ross 1 and 2 inch blending brushes, right? You don't need the Bob Ross ones. You can just get a good, nice kind of firm brush should work for you. And then the same thing with a circular tip, right? This is the Bob Ross 1/2 inch round. So sort of a rounded tip. It's good for making bushes, right? We're going to show you guys everything that you need. And for this first lesson, let's see. So besides the brushes, we're also going to need a medium on our dry canvas in order for these thick oil paints to blend, right? So I use, again, the Bob Ross Liquid White, which is just a very slick paint. Just a very wet, slick paint, right? It's going to be difficult for you guys to see, but we're just going over back and forth across the whole canvas, so it's nice and wet. And I wanted to show you guys this in the first video. We may not show this in future videos just because it adds a little bit of time. But if you guys are all about spending time, so am I. Let's see. You always got to cover the sides. As much as you can anyway, right? Underneath where our easel is holding, we can always go back and fix at the end. Or fix off camera whenever we're done with our painting. Right? We should be able to knock out this painting just about an hour, maybe a little bit more. Right? We're going to go nice and slow and show you that even with just a few colors, what you can really do with these techniques that I'm going to show you, okay? The colors that we're going to be using today are midnight black or noir, any sort of just straight black color. Then we're going to use Prussian blue or the darker color blues, right? They have multiple colors of blue, I know. And if you're brand new to painting, there is a ton of colors that you can use, right? But for this one, I like a nice deep dark blue. So anything comparable to that should work perfectly. And of course, we're going to use titanium white, right? The real thick white paint. Okay, we're going to finish covering our canvas, right? Again, I wanted to show you guys this. All we're doing, you can do in crisscross strokes, is usually the best way to blend it, right? You can crisscross your hand back and forth. And depending on the size of your canvas, your arm will start to get tired, right? So we'll crisscross, make sure. I like to look down the side. You should be able to see a difference in wet areas or dry areas. And you want to make it all nice and dry, right? It doesn't matter how you get it on. You can do it in circles. You can brush it. You can go up. You can go down. You can go any which way you want to go. The main part is that we want it to be even, right? Even across the whole thing. And there's a trick for you, a pro trick. Anytime you get a little bristle stuck to your canvas, you come along the side and just pick it right off. Pro trick number 1, right? Alright, so now we're going to go back and forth across the whole thing, back and forth, and that's just going to take out any, crisscross kind of brush strokes that we left. Back and forth across the whole deal. Just like that. Now we're nice and wet. And I'm going to show you. You just want to be able to see, right? You can still see some dark under there. And that's perfect. You just want to be able to see the rings of your fingerprint in the paint, right? Just a little bit. If you use too much, the technique isn't going to work as well. Okay, we're going to get our little, I like to have a little sort of a petri dish, I call it, with our liquid white in it right here over here on the side. I'm going to show you guys our workspace over here, okay? See if we can angle down and show you the workspace. So you can see we've got paper towels laid out. We have all of our brushes that we're going to use. Now I'm sure you're wondering, how are we going to clean all of our brushes, right? I use Jasco brush cleaner. You can find it at Lowe's or Home Depot or your local hardware store. It's sort of stinky, so you can tend to use it either outside or in a ventilated area, right? I usually have a fan blowing around in here, but for the video I wanted to make sure the sound was just as good as it could be just for you. So we have our 2 cups that I usually use, 1 cup for dark and 1 cup for light colors when we're washing them out. And then I have a bucket, right? You can see it's gently used, this gently used bucket with an old golf ball basket down at the bottom. I found it in my garage and I said that'd be a good place to sort of, you know, beat the bristles of the brush. So that's what we're going to do today. Now let's see. I'm going to go over our canvas just one more time. Got enough paint. Back and forth, and then we're going to hit it. Alright, so I like using on these smaller canvases a 1-inch brush or your smaller brush. And we're going to go, since we only have these 3 colors today, you're going to be amazed at what we're going to create with just these 3 colors, okay? So we have our blue and our black and our white. And I'm going to try to show you guys every single thing that I do in order to create these paintings, okay? So we're going to go blue. Let's say there's a blue line. Let's just go like this. We're going to throw some blue right in here. Right in there. We're just going to start blending it in the blue. We're going to take some of our black and some of the blue just at the same time right on the brush and leave another little swipe up here. Okay, so we've got our blue, our black. All right, we're going to start dropping those in up here again. And we're going to just mix in with that liquid white that's already on the canvas, right? And up on the top, we want it to be really dark. At least I do. I like having it very dark up top. Let's see. Is there someone at the door? Okay. Okay, so we have our blue and our black, and we're very blended in up there. And then down here, as we get lower, it's going to become lighter. You can see it's starting to mix with that liquid white already, and the sky color will change. And it's just the most beautiful thing when you're using a medium like this for the paint colors to blend. All right, we're going to get on the side over here. And I you know, every single time I'll step back and go, wow, like I didn't even attempt that. It just sort of happened on its own, right? And that's really the joy of painting, is when you don't even try and you create this beautiful thing just out of nothing, right? We're not using much, right? A couple colors and our beautiful canvas up here, right? I'm just gonna blend these. You can see I'm just crisscrossing. Be mindful of, you know, how I hold the brushes. You should hold them the same, right? If you want to paint like me, you gotta do everything just like me, right? And we're just doing this in fast motion. Sort of making little horizontal figure eights. Just crisscross, crisscross, right? Crisscross back and forth. Your arm will get tired, trust me. You're like, oh, Josh, I don't need to go to the gym now after doing that painting. It was on such a big canvas, I just went crazy, right? There we go. Let me step in front of you guys just to get this last little bit on the side, because you got to do it. If you don't have the sides painted, it's just going to look unfinished, unless you plan on framing it, right? If you're selling your paintings or trying to sell them like I do, right, you're going to want to finish the edges because you never know if your buyer is going to, frame it or have it, hanging where they can see the top of it as they come down the stairs or anything. You never know what they're going to do. So always finish the edges, and that way, no matter where they put it, they're going to be happy with it, right? All right, we're going to take just from the edge, we're going to pull in from the side, just like that, okay? We're going to leave this shining little bit of white for us to use, okay? That's going to be like the little sheen on the water as you're looking at it, okay? So again, we're going to pull over here, but we're not going to let them connect. We're going to leave this area. You can use your 1-inch brush or your 2-inch brush, whatever brush that you want to use. I like the 2-inch brush just because it, makes everything go a little quicker. But in the beginning, I was, nervous to use the 2-inch brush. It was big, and if I made a mistake, it was going to be a big mistake, right? I learned to get over that pretty quickly. Because in reality, you want mistakes. You really do. It doesn't make any sense, right? You're like, no, Josh, I want it to be perfect. Well, nature is not perfect, right? She is a crazy old beast, and it's never perfect. So you want to have imperfect things, some imperfection, right? And you'll hear me say that a lot through these videos. Had a little imperfection right here. Do something that just makes it not perfect or not straight. Now you can see we've got these lighter areas, right? Down here, got a little shadow, maybe a cloud, maybe another shadow. And then we have our water, which is light, and as it comes closer to us, it becomes darker, right? At least it should, Josh. So let's take some more darkness here. And you can see we started near the bottom, so it deposits all the paint, all the dark paint down here, and then as you come up, it will naturally blend because of the liquid white that's on the canvas. And that helps it, it changes the colors, and it gives you this multitude of depth and color. And you want them to be as straight as possible, really. Okay, and again, imperfections, leave it, leave the little bits, right? It doesn't need to be perfect. But I do like it to be a little bit darker down around the bottom than it is on the top. So, again, yours can be different. It does not have to look like mine at all, not even the smallest bit. Right? It is very difficult for me to even recreate one of my paintings exactly the same. You know what I mean? And I'm the one that came up with it. It's not like I'm trying to guess. I know what color, I know this, I know that. I created it. And it's very difficult to paint the exact same picture again, so don't worry if yours doesn't look like mine. Alright, we're going to come in now, and what I want to do with the knife, right, if you've never held the knife before, it's a very funky thing. You can use the plastic knives initially. That's what I learned with, was a plastic knife. You can get them at any local art store, in a little pack of tools, right? They'll give you a little plastic knife, and it was great. And I used it for months and months I used the thing. And then I forced myself to start using these, Bob Ross professional palette knives in order to, become better, I guess. But if I were you, and if this one doesn't work, use that plastic palette knife. If that plastic palette knife doesn't work, use a butter knife. You can literally use anything in order to create what we're going to do, as long as it's got a flat edge to it, okay? Alright, now what I like about this is this dark area up here is going to be behind this giant white cloud. So we're going to take some of our straight white paint and we're just going to scrape it up onto our palette knife just like this, okay? And then we're going to come in, and we don't want to make a, just a rectangle up there. You want to have it like a cloud, and clouds are messy, really, when you think about it. So why don't we just drop in this messy shape, just this bunch of messy, thick paint in different places and different angles, and you can scrub it in, you can do anything you want, right? We want it to be messy. You just don't want it to have any straight lines. Then we're going to come in, maybe a little bit more over here. Why don't we scrape up some of the blue? Blue is it's very powerful, okay? We're going to come in with our white, and it's just going to change the color of that just underneath here, right? Sort of kind of blends in with that color that's underneath. It's very close. Okay, again, we can come in, we can change the color, we can leave the blue up there. You want it to be random, okay? Now we're going to come in with our unwashed brush. This is the brush that we initially put all the painting on, right? All the paint on the canvas. And we're going to come in and just with the top corner, I'm just the lightest little bit, right? Just barely. I mean, you can see I barely got anything on my glove right here. So you just barely want to touch it, just enough to move it a little bit. And I like going in circles. You can go in clockwise circles. You can go in counterclockwise circles. And sometimes it looks neat if you do both. And if you come out of your cloud just the littlest bit, we'll zoom in right here and show you. That looks fine. I saw a cloud just like that today, right? It doesn't have to look perfect, especially clouds. There is no perfection in a cloud. It is a bunch of mixed up, tossed up, rotated bits of vapor, right? And that's what we're doing with our brush. We're going to come in and just mix it, right? We're going to take some of that shadow. Maybe I don't want to bring too much of it over here, so let's go this way. And maybe we'll come up, and we'll do this, or we'll do that. And we're just mixing it, right? Just very lightly. The harder you push, the more it's going to blend away into the sky. And then we won't have a cloud anymore, right? But we want it to be different. We want it to be darker in some areas, lighter. There almost looks like there's two bits of cloud, kind of with that shadow in between. You don't want it to be perfect. You want it to be messy, okay? We're going to go back to our 2-inch brush, right? Still messy from when we did all of our water and blending and all that. We're going to take it, we're going to swipe up just very lightly, like just light, like almost like you're not trying to touch it, right? Just so light. Swipe, swipe, swipe. You can barely even hear it compared to, right? It's so quiet. Then we're going to come to the side with that same amount of pressure, right? Just so light, such a very light touch you need for this right here, guys. There, I'm just barely holding it, right? We're doing this. It's not even blending away this white area that we have, right? So it's very light, very light. There's a bit of white up there I didn't like. There we go. And so we've got this kind of windswept, you can imagine it's just blowing through our landscape here. And this is it's going to be very close, this painting, to the very first painting I ever painted along to. And that's when I knew I was going to have a career in painting. So I'm glad you guys are here finally, right? All right, we're going to just mix up a little bit of those black and blue colors, okay? Just right there. It's still very blue. And all I really want to do is come in with this blue and make like a bigger shadow of a cloud that's in front, right? A little bit of blue and black, all we're doing. Almost looks like we're about to make a mountain, but this is not a mountain, guys. And you can see just how random you can be, right? It's very freeing. Just whatever, I'll go this way or I'll come this way. It really doesn't matter. Same brush, still haven't washed it. Just going to use the top corner again. The same exact way we made our white clouds, right? But this is a dark, stormy cloud coming in. Remember, you can go the other way. You can do whatever you want to do. Does not have to look a certain way or anything. Right now our cloud has changed into this very stormy looking cloud. Again, we can swipe up just very lightly because we don't want to spread all that color all over the place, right? Back and forth, just very light. Very lightly. And now, again, you don't have to worry about what happens underneath where you're working, right? We're working from the top to the bottom. And whatever comes next is what comes next. And then you can always go back up with your mountain and cover this, or a tree, or whatever. You don't have to worry about it. You can make a mistake. You can do whatever you want to do, right? It's always going to be a happy accident. And we'll be able to work with it, right? That's what I'm going to show you how to do. Okay, now we're going to go back to our white again. Because art, to me, is literally about dark, light, dark, light, dark. You don't want to have... It wouldn't really work if I put the white up there, you know what I mean? We have to have this buffer in between. You want this buffer of dark shadow in between our next cloud that comes down in this area, right? This guy could be humongous. Maybe it's over here on this side. Here we go. Maybe there's a little bit of dark area in between. We don't know what it's going to look like until we start to do it, right? But all I want to focus on is not having the whites touch each other. You want to have that bit of dark in between there. Okay, we're going to come back again. Same old brush. Haven't washed it yet. Right, in this first class, I want it to be very, very much a beginner class, right? We don't even really have to wash our brushes too often. So if you don't have the brush cleaner, you're going to need it, or some type of mineral spirit, or there are odorless paint thinners or regular paint thinner. You don't have to have the brush cleaner. I just like it. It seems to be a little bit more powerful, which means I have to use less in order to get my brushes clean. So I kind of deal with the smell a little bit more, but I don't have to buy as much or go through as much because it's just that little bit more powerful. Look at this, guys. Look at this. And this is the best part, is when you can step back and go, wow, like look what I have created, right? Like Tom Hanks from Castaway. Look what I have created. I have made fire, right? We've made a beautiful, just cloud-filled landscape sky in just a few minutes with 3 colors, mind you, okay? So the next time someone says, oh, that needs more color, you need to have more colors than that to paint a picture, you sit them down and you do this video in front of them and you show them. You do not, you only need 3 colors. Maybe we'll do a black and white one in our series of videos. You'll have to come back for more videos, right? Hopefully we do a good enough job that you'll be back for another one. Let's see. You can always go back into and add just little bits of shadow that's why I don't like cleaning the brushes so often, right? Because you can go back in and you've already got this color matched with the shadow that's already on your brush, and it's so easy. And just wherever you want, right? It doesn't have to look like mine. You know what I mean? Just very lightly touch, and you can add all these shadows and depth and all these things, again, with just 3 colors. And your friends will be amazed, right? You take a couple classes, you get the videos, you practice, and then you sit your friends down and you're like, look, I want to show you something. And you just knock it out. Bam, hit it out of the park, right? And your friends' mouths are like, I had no idea you could do that. Like, where did you learn to do that? It's our little secret, right? I won't tell. I won't tell. All right, we're going to get a little bit of blue and a little bit of black, right? Same little pile we're going to mix, and we're just going to sneak a little bit of white, because again, the white, all these colors are very powerful colors, and we're using them together, and it's hard, right? So start with, if you want to try to mix, use a very small amount, and then gradually add a little bit more until you get your desired color that you want to look. Our color that we're going for here is very dark, right? It's going to look very dark blue or black depending on how much of either color you mixed in, right? Which is why I said, again, if yours doesn't look the same as mine, don't worry. You're not going to get the exact same mixture that I got just from mixing it. I can't even do it, right? Even if I count my strokes and try to judge how much paint that I grabbed, I still can't do it. So don't get stressed, right? If it doesn't look like mine, that is okay. It's not supposed to. It's supposed to look like yours. I'm just showing you the technique, and then you're going to take it and run with it, and you're going to be a mega YouTube superstar within a year, right? And you'll be like, oh, there was this old guy, Josh. I got one of his videos one time, and he showed me the way, and I just took off running, right? All right, let's get a giant bit of mountain, winter. I love painting winter scenes. You could do any kind of scene from here, but with our colors, it's going to be a winter scene. And I love, just because it's so hot in Las Vegas, where our Happy Little Landscape studio is, I love painting winter because it just kind of takes me away from that, right? So let's see, we can come up here, and we scooped up a good amount onto our knife, right? Just same way we laid those clouds down, but now we're being very gentle. And we're just sort of dropping it in and sort of shaping, because now we're going to create what our mountain is supposed to look like, right? Before, we're just randomly dropping the clouds. So it's a little different, right? Maybe we come down here, and again, you want to have these little humps and bumps, right? We're pushing it in. I want to have that hard line on the edge, right? All we're worried about is what the top looks like. And if we can get that, right, then you can take the rest of that paint. You can even scoop it up and keep going. Your mountain can look however you want, but normally in the beginning you want to stay away from, very pointy type mountains. So throw an extra little bit in. Make it rounded. Throw another little hump. Do something to make it not a pyramid, right? Every so often I wipe off my knife, it starts getting too covered up. Let's see, and we can go wherever. And the main thing is you don't have to go all the way to the edge, right? If you go all the way to the edge, you're going to end up using too much paint. And the very cool thing about it is we can add different bits of color in random places in our mountain. And as we blend these together, just like the clouds sort of came together from the top and the bottom, these will blend together in different ways and in different color patterns than we could even, dream of doing, all on their own. Let's see, we're going to come up here, right? We're going to come up here, we're going to grab just a little bit, and we're going to pull it down. You can leave your tip tops, right? You don't have to try to grab those with the edge of the brush. It's very difficult, even for me. Right? So you can leave some of that edge, and what's cool about that hard, the hard edge of your mountain right here is it will look like almost a shadow when we go to put our stuff on. Everything is for a reason, right? It's good. It looks like we came out of our line over here. So let's come down, and we just change the shape of our mountain just entirely. We're going to change it, right? We can come over here. Say it lives a little bit higher up over there, right? There's a bump, and then it comes off this way. And it just kind of fades off into the distance. And we don't know, right? And then again, we're just doing these crisscross strokes. You can take it, maybe pull this side this way, and then take a step back, and you look, right? You guys can already see on the camera. I can't see what you can see. That's why I love being able to look back at these cameras and go, okay, now I know that I can put, my highlights here, or a shadow, maybe there's a ridge right here, right? And it did it all on its own. So again, yours won't look like this, but it's going to look amazing however it looks, because it sort of just happened, right? And that's literally the best part about the painting to me, is what happens. Like, it just does it on its own. Look at that. That's amazing. And if you step back, you can see, now we almost sort of have a, paint by number thing where, okay, if I want to do light on this side, I know exactly where to put it, exactly where to put my shadows, and I can do dark over here, you know what I mean? So take a step back and look at it every so often, and you will not regret it, because you'll see some very cool things, which may end up taking your painting in a totally different direction than where you were going to go. And again, that's the fun part about it to me. That is the fun part to me. This canvas is very dry, so what I'm doing is just taking a little bit of that liquid white that we put on initially, just at the base, so I can get it to blend. You see the difference right there? When your canvas starts becoming dry, or if it's a very thirsty canvas like this one is, they normally stay wet for, hours, days. I could come back, within a few hours and make a change on a painting if I needed to. But this canvas is very thirsty, so we're sort of kind of making it up on the fly, which is, again, how I love to paint. We come in, you might have an initial idea, and then it may end up changing. And that's just how painting goes, right? What I always say is don't fight the change. If you can't get a certain thing into a certain color or a certain bit of snow into the certain plate, it's just not meant to be there, right? And again, you want it to be random. You don't want it to be perfect. So we're going to take our white, we're going to mix in with a little bit of that dark color and a little bit of our blue. Excuse me for my vocals here. A little bit of our blue, right? And we're going to make this sort of grayish, bluish color. You guys see that? Grayish, bluish. I know it might be difficult to see on my white palette here. Let's see. It always just never fails. I always have an itch when I'm on camera, and I just can't do anything until I scratch it, right? You guys know what I'm talking about. Okay, so let's decide, just based on our mountain, the way you guys see it right now, that we're going to put our shadows on this side, just because that's how it played out. That side is a little bit darker, this side's a little bit more light, right? And I can see some really cool things we could do. You don't always have to paint everything in the same straight line, right? We're not about straight lines over here, guys. We don't want those straight lines. So let's see. If we're going to do that, and you can literally take a step back. I can't because I'm on camera, right? But you can take a step back and look, versus me, I can see when I look in the camera how it's going to look, right? So we're going to take our blue mixture on the knife again, Told you guys are going to get real familiar with the knife. It is your best friend, okay? So even if you don't like it, you got to practice with it, right? We're going to come up here on just this side, the left side that we're staying on our mountain, right? And just dropping in just very lightly. You don't even, you want to be holding your knife almost vertical if you're painting like me. If you're painting on a table, you want to hold it flat. It's got to be, however, you almost want it to hit the bottom, of your mountain down here as you're doing it. And then you just go very lightly and quick, right? Quick is the key word. If you do it too slow, it's not going to break on us, right? We want it to be different, and then don't overdo it in different places. Okay, I'm going to need more snow here. So we're going to mix up more. Right, trying to get that same sort of blue hue, a little bit darker color. Maybe we need a little bit more blue, right? And come in. It's not a perfect science, right? There we go. It's sort of about the same. Scrape up some more of that. Again, maybe we'll come down over here and then turn our angles, right? Just came down, made it like a 45-degree angle, came over this way. And you can do that all over the place. Because a mountain, again, is never a perfect thing. It's not going to be this perfect shape. All right, so we're going to throw some of our snow off this way. And you want it to be very thick, and that's what's cool about these oil paints. As you drag, it's going to break in certain places, and it's going to be thick. When you get done with this painting, after it's good and dry, we're going to be able to feel all these little different dips and humps and bumps. And that is what's cool about it to me. You can literally see it from this down your hallway as you're walking down, right? You're like, oh, I know what that one is. I know what's coming up already because I remember, that shape of that mountain. All right, now every so often we've got a little peak over here. We need to add some shadow to it, right? And don't be worried about overdoing it if you add too much shadow, because you can always go back and fix it with your highlights. Okay, and you can cover over anything that you want, or make things a bit darker or lighter, or, it's going to be fun. Don't worry. But I like to put a little bit of shadow in random places, and then we're going to come back with that dark pile that we made initially to make the mountain, right? And we're just going to come in and just every so often going to drop a little bit of like real dark rocks in there. Okay? Maybe on the edge, this guy's got a bit of dark, and again, you don't always have to use it at the same angle. You can rotate. You can see how I hold it and how you should be holding it as you come up to the canvas, right? Get a little bit more of that dark. Maybe it gets dark down here. Maybe the sun's going down and we really just can't really see what's going on over here, how dark it's getting, and it's just straining to get to these areas, but the sun just can't do it, guys. It's so dark. Dark mountain. There we go. Again, as you do this, you can add, blue, black, doesn't matter. Hold out way too much blue right there. There we go. You can use blue, you can use it in different spots, and as it mixes with your highlights, it's going to change the color of the snow, and it's just going to look fantastic, you guys. And again, this may look like, that's what it's going to look like. This is a reverse image of what it's actually going to be. All these dark areas are soon going to be very bright white, which is why, again, I like doing the shadows first, because as a beginner, you don't want to have to try to sneak in different places to just get your shadow in this little tiny place right there. Oh, God. Right? So do the shadows first, and then you can come back in with your highlights. And just go crazy, right? We're just going to go nuts. Going to pull out a whole bunch of white paint. Doesn't matter if it mixes in with the blue. Again, you're going to want these differences in color, right? You're going to hear that. You're going to hear me say that a lot as well. Differences in color. Even if we only have 3 colors, we want the colors to be different. You can see we have dark blue, sort of grayish blue, this dark black, sort of gray, and then here it comes, right? Here comes the winter snowfall. Again, we're just going to drag it down and sort of stay in our areas where we know the snow, landed. And we already had it planned out with all of our shadows, right? So we'll come over here, and you want to be quick, and that's how you get those little cool little breaks, which you can't do on your own. You know what I mean? Can't do that. I can paint that with just a little like a little knife or a little brush, it would take ages and ages to paint. I couldn't do that. And again, you don't want it to be perfect, guys. So leave those breaks. Don't go over it too much, because it's, you know, you go over it one too many times and then it doesn't look right anymore, right? And again, remember your angles. If you pull straight down, it's going to look like a cliff. So you want to have this sort of, you know, twisting angle. You can see that as the knife moves like this, and you're sort of twisting it to get these different angles in there, right? Maybe the snow came down and it was down this little peak over here, and then we chucked a left and we came down the mountain this way, just flying down. Now we have all this shadowy side over here, right? Again, you can see me going at all these different angles, different areas, different places, and we're getting this beautiful mount. Like sometimes I turn around and I go, wow, like look at that. You know what I mean? And that's what you want it to be like. Maybe there's a little bit of snow up on that peak. Maybe like the teeniest bit is showing over here from the light. You know what I mean? A little bit up on top of there, and then it kind of dips into shadow. And if you ever drop too much, then that's when you go over it back and forth until you sort of mix it right there on the canvas. Maybe this peak's got like a little bit going down. And take a step back and look every so often, guys. You will not be disappointed. The side goes like that, bingo, bango, and then we come over here with just the littlest bit, just making like little 1/4 inch pulls. And that'll just sort of blend those two areas where it sort of looks like a little bit of white snow, and then we're off into the shadows, right? This is turning out to be a beautiful mountain, you guys. All right, now we want to sort of blend and blur the bottom of this mountain. So we're going to use our 2-inch brush, and just, this is when you get all your anger out, right? You had a bad day at work, just get it out on the bus. But be mindful of my brush, right, in this beginning video, before you go attacking it. Okay, we're gonna tap in, and it's sort of like let's start over here. We go like this, and we're bringing it down, and then we're coming back up, and we're bringing it down, right? Very slow, well, very fast. We're doing it slow here. Just like that. We took our knife and we went like this over here, so we're doing the same thing with the brush, right? Same thing here. Now watch, when we get to this section, remember we went this way. So let's take our brush, and we'll drag it down this way. Right? You don't want it to be the same length, the same height. So maybe come up a little bit, come down. I like to make it almost like a heartbeat monitor, right? You get those peaks and valleys. We'll come over here, and just all we're doing here, every time we push, all of our bristles are just sort of blending each time. They're blending, so they're creating this very soft fog down around the bottom. Which, again, don't overdo, because sometimes you can, you know, you would have made a shadow in the fog just totally by accident, and it ends up looking fantastic, right? So don't overdo it. Don't go too fast. Take a step back every so often. Look in the direction that you want to go, right? I've been doing this long enough where I know exactly where we're headed from this point. I usually like to come into paintings with no idea of what we're going to do, and then as soon as we get our clouds and mountain laid out, now I see it. Bingo, bango, we'll have this, we got that, and now the painting's already done in my head, right? So now all I gotta do is follow my own directions. Just like you guys. And now with these classes, again, thank you for purchasing the class. I hope to see you on another class. You know, I hope I made a great first impression. And, you know, hopefully your painting turns out well enough that you come back. And that's gonna be the last time we talk about it, guys. I'm not even kidding. Okay, now what are we gonna do here? What color are we? Oh yeah, only 3 colors. That's all we have, right? So let's take our black and blue. We're going to mix those up again. And again, this color will be different than any color out here because you can never mix the exact same amount of black and blue every single time that you do it. You know what I mean? So it's always going to be this different color. We may have to end up getting some more paint out of our box, guys. I wonder, is that something you want to see on video? We'll probably cut that bit out, right? Let's just take a little bit more of this kind of shadowy color just in certain places. And this is exactly what I was talking about. Why you put your shadows on first is because it's very difficult, even for me, to come in here and add these darkness, little places of dark where I want them with the highlights already there without already screwing up what we just did, right? So that's why it's a prime example of why we do our highlight and our shadows before we do our highlights. Okay. Now we're going to come in here with our little size 10 fan brush, again, gently used. If you have a brand new one, you better get some paint on it pretty quick. And we're going to come in, let's decide from over here, okay? We're going to make real tall, real far away trees just with a fan brush. And all we're doing is just very vertically touching it, right? Just doot, 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 and we're going to do the same thing with this sort of 45-degree downward angle, right? So I'm going to show you one time. Pop it like that, right? Zoom in. You can see we've got this tree. We popped down, and it sort of left that tree shape, okay? You want to make a lot of these, otherwise it doesn't look like trees. So we're going to keep popping up and down, just like a heartbeat monitor again, right? We don't want to have this same straight line. That's not going to look realistic. Trust me, I did it on my first couple paintings. You get this straight line, and it just doesn't look real. And I'm all about painting some real stuff, and obviously you like what we do, so you want to get it right, you got to get a lot of paint, and you got to do a lot of trees, okay? And you can see this light area that we're sort of leaving? That's going to push that mountain so far into the distance behind this bit of forest, right? We're going to come down here, and then as we go, I'm going to try to match what we're doing. So we have this same deal. If we were to put a line right through the middle, you'd have the same on the top, the same on the bottom, right? You can flip your brush over, you can use it upside down, you can use it backwards. You can do however you want to do, as long as you get this, you know, sort of difference, right? It's just a whole mess up here. All it is a mess. And all we're doing is just tapping our brush, making a mess right on the canvas, right? Perfect. It's beautiful. It's exactly what we want. We didn't start from the side. We're leaving probably about 2 inches on either side. And I'll show you why in a little bit, right? Now we're going to take our 2-inch brush again. And just because this canvas is a little bit wet again, you shouldn't have to do this with yours. Yours should be wet enough, right? We're going to pull it down just like that. So we get this instant reflection, right? And right here we're pulling with some force in order to pull those down, okay? Then we're going to come across very gently. And that's going to create our instant reflections from, you know, what we have above to what we have below. Now, I like to come in with our 2-inch brush, and we're going to lift up on the trees as well, right? It sort of blurs them, makes them further in the distance, sort of fills in some of these gaps. You don't want to fill them all in, because you want it to look like there's thousands of trees, right? With some light maybe shining in, or some fog, or some sort of something. So don't fill it all the way in. And then, I'm going to take our 2-inch brush again, same thing, and just sort of tap, just using the top corner. Right? And as we get closer to this side, we're going to go higher up the trees. Okay? And all it really does is just sort of create this fogginess. Right? Again, we can pull over. And now it's sort of taking away our reflections on this side, but you could say that's a bank of fog sort of rolling in. It's always up to the end viewer to see what they're going to see, right? Not up to us to tell them what it is. That's why I like to leave a lot of mystery. Is it fog? Is it snow? Is it smoke? What is it? You know what I mean? Okay, now we're going to come in with that same dark color, right? Because we only have 2 colors. Maybe a little bit of blue, a little bit of black. You can always mix them right on the brush. You don't have to use your palette knife every time, right? And then we're going to come back here, and now we've turned our brush upside down, and we're just going to touch, and it's almost going to make this almost U shape with a bit in the middle, right? And to me, it just looks like some far off land, right? So the more we touch and the closer we get to us, the bigger our land becomes, right? Our bit of grass, right? You can call it a little meadow back here. Maybe it sits up on a field. So we turn our brush this way and we come down at an angle. If it's sitting up on a hill, You never know it, but it's all about how you position your brush, right? If you're coming down on this angle, now it looks like we have this little slope. If you go straight, then it looks like it's very straight. So it's all about you. And what I want to do here is just put a little bit of that reflection underneath. So again, the more we come, the more little shadowy bits are going to be down underneath here. And then when we pull with our 2-inch brush, we'll get our reflections, right? So we'll come in, sort of decide, maybe we want our land to live over here. And as we pull down, as we come to this side, we don't want it to be straight, right? That's why I left all this room over here. We want it to look like it's coming out towards us. So in order to do that, you have to start higher over here than you are over here, right? You can see, where's my other finger? Here we go. You can see the difference in height from where we are, right? So we're going to start up here, and then each time we get a little bit closer, we start down a little bit further. You start down a little bit further, down a little bit further, down a little bit further. And that will bring all of your land closer to you. All right, got our reflections, pull them to the side, bingo bango, just like that. It's looking great. It's looking fantastic. Even this reflection, you know, we didn't sort of replicate what the sky looked like underneath, but the more that you cover and uncover of this white streak, the more it will look like the sky above. Right? Trying to show you guys the cool techniques that I've learned to make it very easy for you, right? I've spent years trying to figure out how to make stuff easy so I can get you guys and the YouTube guys to be able to paint with ease, right? So let's see. Now to create our far off water, look, we want that liquid white paint because it's very wet and very watery to begin with, right? So let's start over here. We're just going to touch it and just pull. Trying to be as straight as we can, right? Just deposit a little bit of that paint. And then I like to go back, sort of tap it on my little petri dish that I have, right? Tap it in like that, just like that. So it's on both sides and the front. And then I like to sort of deposit. You never know what's going to come off first. So now that I know it's a thin line like that, I can come back here and then just back and forth, and then every so often drop down a little bit, right? Let's get some more on there. We're going to come in straight, then we're going to go sort of back down at an angle and then straight again. And you just keep doing that until you get it to look the way you want it to look. When yours looks how you like it, you stop. All right, come over here, I'll show you again. Sort of cutting it in, right? We're pushing it, so we're pushing it at the front here, so it slides out the back of the knife and deposits this ridge of water, right? And then the more and more you play with that ridge, the more it will blend away, so don't do too much, right? Maybe put a little wave out here, just a straight little guy. And again, you can use either side of your knife. It never has to be, you know, one thing fits all, right? However you make it work is how you make it work. Let's see, I'm gonna make this water line down here a little bit thicker. That's why I like, you know, when you're touching back there, you just want the smallest bit because you have to make these far away ones look far away, right? Just back there. It's not as detailed up here, right? Up here we can see it's close. I'm not Superman. I can't see all the way back there as clearly as I can see up here, right? So you want these to be very soft and faded, and then these to be very thick, ridges of watery paint, right? That almost look like if we tip the canvas, they'll start dripping down, right? That's how thick they are. Now you can always add a little bit of depth by grabbing some of that dark color and dropping some of that dark in. You know, far away it will look like a reflection or a shadow of what's underneath. But as we get closer, and again, we only have two colors today, right? So if you're like, what colors did you use? The black and the blue together, just the dark mixture that we made. And we're going to stay along the dark, you know, side. And this is almost like maybe the water shrank. It got a little bit lower this season. And so it's not, you know, all the way up to the grass yet, right? Come in, maybe we'll put a little bit under here. You can hear me, I'm literally cutting it in, pushing hard, trying to get it off of my knife and onto the canvas in that same little ridge like our liquid white does. Just like that. You can always mix those together. It will create these little different colors, and it doesn't have to be perfect, right? You don't want it to be this perfect thing. So, give it some imperfections. Something that just looks, not straight. It's not a straight line. You want to stay away from the straight lines. There we go. There's a little bit of shadow in there too. Totally up to us, right? And then again, if you did something that you didn't like with that liquid white, literally just blend it away and it will disappear like a magic trick, right? It will disappear. Okay, so now you can all see we have this, bit of land that's a little bit higher. Our water starts a little bit higher, and by the time we get down to this close area, it's a little bit closer to us, right? You take this. That was just a little bit too thick for me. And that's the best part about painting. You can literally swipe it away and start over, right? Even the pros don't get it right every time, guys, especially when we're doing it live on video, right? Let's see. That's what I want. I just like these little ripples. The closer we get to us, the more little ripples I would imagine seeing, in a real river. So, I paint the ripples. And in order to have the ripples, you got to have this shadowy color down first. And again, if you don't like something, you literally play with it until it disappears, right? You come down, right there. Almost leave like a little bit of that water behind this little piece of grass, right? Always adding depth. We have our water line back here, and then we get this new little piece of land that grows in. And then it's got its own little water line, and you just keep playing as much as you want to play. And that is the best part about it. Again, we're trying not to cover up too much of our white, right? So we've left a little bit of sheen back there, and again, we're working down, top to bottom. Let's see. We could probably paint a cabin in this one, guys. I don't know. And maybe for a different class, right? I'm always thinking. I'm always trying to see what we could do. Let's do that. Always looking. Always looking. We go live when we do our stuff on the weekends on YouTube and Facebook, and we do these live videos, and it just gets crazy. People will be, sort of virtually yelling out, like, oh, put a tree over here, or do this one with a cabin, or do that. And it's fun to kind of go back and forth with everybody. All right, now we've mixed up a whole other pile of our dark color, right? And what color was that, guys? Are you paying attention? What color was it? Black and blue together, right, exactly. All right, why don't we take, for this one, let's take a little bit of white, and we'll mix it in there. Just brighten it up a little bit. We don't need it to be crazy, right? These trees are going to be kind of far away, so I want them to be a little bit lighter in color. Let's see. Yeah, you can tell that's why we have that fan on all the time. It's hot in here. Okay, let's do a bit of this. We're going to get the nice big thick paint on both sides of our brush, right? I like pulling in one direction like this. Pull down, pull the same direction. It's actually the opposite direction, but you know what I mean. Same direction. Here we go. Now we're going to come up here, and in order for my set of trees over here to be closer to me, they need to be taller than our closest tree over here, right? So we need to be taller than this, but not taller than our mountain, okay? So about halfway up, why don't we drop in this big old daddy. We're going to pull it all the way down about right there. We're going to stop, right? Maybe 4 inches from the bottom. And maybe we're going to come back over here. Maybe there's another little guy, but he's on like an angle, right? He got stepped on. Poor little tree got stepped on when he was growing. Okay, now we're going to come back, and you've seen everything we've done has been straight onto the canvas, right? We use this straight on. We use our 2-inch brush for straight on. Now, what I want you to pay attention to is the way we're going to rotate our hand and our brush this way, okay? So all I want to use is the very top corner, and I'm going to show you why, okay? Imagine this is the top of our tree, and we come in and we want to make a branch at the very top. We're going to have giant branches over the edges, right? So I want to use the smallest edge possible on the fan brush here, which is turning my hand to the side and just using it just like this. And we're going to come in, make a little dab, little dab, little dab, and the more we come down, the more we're going to use the brush. You can see how my hand is rotated around now to now where we're using all the bristles of the brush, which make it nice and wide, right? And you can always go up and make the tip top of your tree a little sharper if you messed it up a bit, right? Take our knife, bring some of that paint up, just a little sharp little tip to the tree, right? Up to you. Again, now that we started out here and then we rotated down, now we're going to go in sort of a Z pattern, right? We're going to come down, we're going to go this way, we're going to go that way, each time pushing up on the branch, up on the canvas like this. It's hard for me to show you guys, it's a weird angle, but up, right? Not down, where we leave this downward angle. We're trying to get that upward one. So the same thing we did with the grass, right? We're touching it, going up like that. You want to have all these little differences. Remember, you got to have differences. Don't want to have the same thing up there. It's not going to look correct, right? You're going to look at it and go, that's weird. All right, so again, just like that, back and forth like a metronome, right? Tick-tock, tick-tock. Back and forth. And I want to cover up all that area. I want it to be so dark and thick that you can't see what's behind it, right? Now, since we flattened up our whole pile of paint, we need to get some more paint. I like to scoop it up like that, and then you can really layer it thick in your brush, right? Big, thick, chunky bits of paint. That's what you want to stick here. Again, using the very corner of the brush, just touching. You can see how my hand is, what I'm doing. I'm just sort of extending it out. There's a good way. Like this, just sort of flicking it and touching it with the tip corner of the brush, and then as we get down, now our bristles can get bigger and they can extend outward. Just like that. Okay, don't want to go down too far because we're gonna make a bigger one on this side over here, okay? So make sure it's nice and dark, can't really see through it. I'm gonna come back in, take some of that black and blue again, get our same dark colors, right? And mix those up, and then we're gonna come in, scrape up a good amount of it, and then you decide where you want your tree trunk to be, right? And just sort of pull over. That's all I'm really doing. Scraping up a bit, sort of deciding maybe it lives here, and I pull it over just like a 1/16 of an inch, just a little bit. And then the more you go down, the more, the thicker your trunk is going to become, so you can make them, bigger down at the bottom. And I like to do, I don't want to have them at the same thing, you know what I mean? Then it's going to look like a straight line. If these two were straight across from each other and these two were straight across from each other, I like to stagger things down. It just makes it look a little bit more realistic to me, really. You're never going to see the same spot of the trunk on both trees at the same exact time. It's just, so make it imperfect, right? All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to get up the last bit of the paint that I have. I'm going to have to go into my box, so we're going to do a little video cut here, because I'm sure you guys don't want to see me bend down and get into my paint box and come back up, and nobody wants to see that, right? So we'll cut that bit out. But with this last little bit that we have, before we take our little short break, right, our little intermission, our pause break, you can always pause here and get more paint out, or go grab some wine, or have a drink. Totally up to you, right? Let's see. That little bit of tree is just funky looking to me. There we go. Couldn't tell if it was like tree or mountain, so I had to make that distinction. All right, now I'm going to take that round brush we were talking about. It looks like a circle, right? Little round brush. We're going to make some bushes. Okay, we're going to take our bushes here. They're just going to be small little bushes, okay? I'm going to sort of pop them out like that. Nothing too crazy, because our crazy bushes are going to be closer to us, right? But I do want a very thick amount of paint. Can you guys see how thick it is? It's like, you pop into it and you get all these little textured areas. That's what we want it to look like on the canvas. So very thick bit of bush, okay? Again, you can go underneath, sort of in this 45-degree angle, right? You guys can see the line, you can see the reflection line. It's all about angles, right? We'll pull down with our reflections, come to the side, and There we go. Now we have this beautiful little bit of forest maybe coming in from the other side, right? All right. Let's wash some of these brushes, okay? Now what I like to do with our thing, I'd get my cup, dip it in the cup here, kind of push it around the edges, get all the paint off, and then down here out of frame, we take it and just sort of beat it against these, the bits here. I would recommend you get a bucket. Bob Ross used to hit his on his easel and it would just spray everywhere. And I don't want that to happen. Not in my studio or not with all these other beautiful artworks, right? All of these for sale on my Etsy page and they get just plastered. Nah, I don't want that to happen. So I got a bucket and that sort of keeps everything contained so you can keep your house clean and not have to worry about it, right? Okay guys, so we're back from the paint box. We've got more blue, more black, a little bit more white because I'm not sure exactly what we're going to do, right? What I do want to do with this winter scene is throw a little bit of kind of snow on those bits of grass, okay? So we're going to take our titanium white and grab a little bit of the liquid white, just a little dab, right? We just want it to be a little bit thinner than its original thick state. And then we're going to come back in, sort of test it out, what our little snowy grass is going to look like, right? We're just sort of tapping them in and sort of skipping just the littlest bit, leaving those little bits of dark and light, right? Just dark and light. That's all you got to keep thinking, keep remembering, dark and light. So every time there's light, there's going to be a little bit of dark, a little bit of light, a little bit of dark, a little bit of light, a little bit of dark, a little bit of light, a little bit of dark, and so on forever, right? Now as we get closer to us over here, I'm going to push a little bit harder because I want these areas to be a little bit taller, a little bit kind of snowy grass that is poking up through the snow, all the rest of that snowfall. Now every so often you'll come down and you'll nick a spot that you didn't actually want to get, right? So we'll go back in with our knife, throw a little bit of that dark in there, straight as you can get it. Now we have this distinction back here, okay? A little bit of our titanium white and liquid white. We can make our little water lines. And remember, you want it to be messy. It doesn't have to look the same any which where at all, okay? It doesn't even have to connect. The white does not have to touch it itself. Your water doesn't have to look like anything really. We've got this cool reflection of our thing. We've got our lighter area. This has turned out to be a great, great little painting. And if yours looks anything like this, you should be, ecstatic right now, okay? Okay, now we're going to take that bush making brush is what I like to call it. It's the 1/2-inch round brush. I'm going to clean it off. My little beater bucket down there that we showed, right? This is how this hat always gets messed up. I'm sorry, guys. I live in Las Vegas. It's hard to keep our houses cool, right? Especially with this fan blowing. All right, so we've got our white sort of grass, snow-covered areas, all of our little light and dark areas, right? It's not all the same. We have all this depth, like little rolling hills that are going back through there. And it's turning out fantastic, okay? I'm going to take that fan brush again and get our black and blue together. All right, just mix it right on the brush, and that way it's different. You have different colors throughout the brush. We're just going to take and add the littlest bit of sort of grassy area down here. Sort of a bit of land where all these bushes sort of sit on, okay? Now again, I want to come in with that dark color, our black and blues. Black and blue, black and blue. And now we're going to cut in the opposite direction. So we want enough paint on the brush that when we push in, it's going to leave that chunk. See that little blue line right there? Now you don't want it that thick, but you get the idea. You kind of want to cut it in. Get some of that off of there. And real quickly, I need to adjust this canvas just because the lip is so large on my easel that on some of these I have to kind of sit it out here on the edge, right? Makes it easier for me to get to these, lower areas with my knife. So I'll show you some behind the scenes stuff. You're so lucky you get to see this part, right? Let's see, but we are 100% real around here. No fakeness, okay? You see, again, how messy we're being. We just want to leave that chunk out here on the edge, right? To where we have this little bit of water sort of trickling through, okay? And that makes it so much easier for our white to sort of fill in all these little areas as we cut the white in. Right? You'll have all these little differences. And again, it doesn't have to look the same. It doesn't have to touch, doesn't have to do anything. You can pull it out, you can have different areas. You know, you just want to have it straight. Okay, so even though we're on this sort of 45-degree angle down, right? You can see it there, the angle, you want to be straight with your knife. So be mindful of that. Always want to be straight with your water. Your water's not going to stay up there if it's, you know, sitting on an angle. Okay, what I want to do now is make up a little bit of our shadow color, which is just white and blue. Okay, same, remember how we started with the white and blue for our shadows up here. Just like that, and then I want to get some of that real soupy, liquidy, liquid white. You see it dripping off of my knife onto the powder. Right? We want to mix that up. So it's going to be this very bright, like snow, you know, sky color, very bright blue. And that's what's amazing about this liquid white, is you can get so many different colors and shades, you know, with using the same 3 colors. And we have all these different colors in our painting. Okay, we're just going to drag down again the same way. Come back with this side. And now we just barely want to touch, right? In the initial bit, we pushed against the canvas to sort of create the shape. Now I just want to touch it so softly, guys. Like look, we're going to come up just with the corner again. So soft. And again, we're coming down in this Z shape, right? Kind of turning our brush back and forth as we go down. And then once we get to the bottom, it doesn't need to be as bright as it is at the top. But you can see that beautiful tree just from doing that. Okay, now we're going to turn it over and come back in, try to get a little bit more of that. Grab a little bit more liquid white, just so it's very, you know, now we've changed it again. Now this blue is even lighter than this blue, so it's going to look very neat. Okay, come down here. Maybe this whole guy doesn't show, and he's got, you know, just a bit. You want to have darkness in between the 2 trees, so don't try to cover up everything, right? Cover over our little bit of trunk every so often, but you don't need to cover all of it. If you cover up everything, then you don't have any dark, and then you don't have any depth, and you just have this bright blue tree-shaped thing that's not a tree. Gotta have light and dark. Remember, we've been talking about light and dark and light and dark, light and dark. Now what are we going to do here? We're going to make it bright, right? So again, I want to get some of that blue. Anytime we're making shadows, we're using blue and white. And then every so often you have to sort of dull that with a little bit of black. Right? It just makes it sort of this bluish, grayish, whitish. It's, you know, it's a strange color, but just 1 or 2 little bits of black will change it, you know, to where it's not the same as any of these other blue shades that we've been using, right? Now I'm going to take our round brush that we washed, nice and clean. I just want to dab it onto the thing, just so you can hear it. Right? And it's going to leave all these little specks. It's so hard to show you the texture, right? And we have all this goopiness in our brush, which is going to be excellent because we want to come in and make these little bush shapes. Again, leaving space in between, a little bit of dark behind. Say we come over here. Why don't we get just a little bit more, just like that, okay? You just want to have a little bit of light and dark play, right? A little bit of light and dark. Want to have those bits that where we can tell there's different bushes growing in and out, right? You've got to have those areas. If you don't have those areas, it's not going to look right, okay? Now out here, we're going to take in, and just with our knife, we're just going to scrape through all the paint. Just like that, you can hear it. Down in our dark areas, we're going to add these little twigs that are holding all these branches up, right? You can do as many as you want, as few as you want. Makes it look really neat. And you can tell we've gotten all this bit of paint. It's hard to find a spot to show you. There's a big giant chunk of paint that we've literally scraped away by, making these little branches. You put them wherever you want. Totally up to you. But when you look down deep into the dark down there, you're going to find these cool little things. And that's, again, one of the other things I love about this style of painting. Make our water a little bit, give it some life, a little bit more ripples, a couple more here and there. And again, it's a very messy thing. You don't need it to be perfect, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, we're going to take up a giant amount of our paint, because we're going to make a big pile of paint, okay? The blue and black here. You guys saw how much I had gotten back out, because we need a lot. We want this last tree to be so goopy and so thick that we can feel it, we can see it from the sides. You're going to want to be able to touch it. It's going to be 3D, like it's just coming out of the canvas. There's so much paint, right? And that's what you want to shoot for. That's what took me a long time to figure out, is just how much paint it took to make the tree look like that. You know what I mean? If you use too thin or not enough, it's just never going to come out looking exactly the same. But when I finally figured that out, boom, my painting skyrocketed, my sales started to skyrocket. You gotta get those little tricks, those little tricks figured out, right? You know what would even look neat? As I'm looking down here, if we took some of this just straight up liquid white and just added some blue, some white highlights to our tree. So now we have 3 different colors of shadows just inside our little area right here. It looks amazing. Looks amazing, guys. Okay, we're going to go back to our fan brush and our giant pile of black and blue paint that we've created. And we're just going to wiggle it this time. We're going to wiggle it. We want it to get so deep into all the bristles of this brush that it's never coming out, right? That's how thick I want this brush. Just, it's heavy. It's like, oh, the thing's so heavy, right? Now, in order for this tree on this side to be closer to us, it needs to be taller than these trees that are further away, and taller than our mountain, which is much further away, right? So why don't we go maybe 2 inches above the tip top of your mountain, wherever that may be, and right over here. That's why we left this blank area. We're going to fill it all in, right? So why don't we do just like this? We're going to come straight down, and on this one I want us to come, you don't have to go to the very bottom, but we're going to end up filling it with a bunch of bushes and stuff anyway. Okay, get our big thick paint. Corner, again, you can see me rotate the brush sideways. That's when we're making these really small shapes, right? Again, sort of pushing up. You can see this real tip top of a tree just starting to form, right? And then the more we go down, the bigger these shapes become. Again, you want to leave a little bit of room, a little bit of space. Don't worry about covering over anything behind it. We put it back there for a reason, right? Just so we could see what we were doing. And then it was going to get covered. That's the best part of a painting, is it makes you want to see maybe what's behind this tree. Like, I can't see what's back there, right? That's what gives you that depth too. When you can look at how thick that stuff is, guys. Oh. And again, leave some space in between your branches. Right? You don't want to have them all. Then we're going to cover the sides like this. Just black out the side down here where your tree is the thickest. You know what I mean? And that way it'll look, as you rotate around your canvas when you're looking at it, make it look like it's round. Very neat, guys. Very neat. Look at that. You could add another tree depending on, how big your tree was over here, or the thickness, or the distance between your mountain peak. Whatever you want to do, you can definitely do. We're going to do it because we have so much paint, right, still left, that we could add another little guy maybe back here. And we don't even have to see all of this tree, right? This tree can sit in front. So again, we're going to come from the side, just touching, and the more we come down, just the littlest bit more we touch, right? Then we come a little bit more of the bristles get touched, and now that we're pushing all of them against the canvas, now we can start that little kind of rotating pattern going down, right? To where we have differences. We got this funky little tree over here that's behind our larger tree, and when they're all blacked out like this, it may be hard to see, right, which one's in front. And that's what's so cool about highlighting, is we decide which tree is going to be in front. Okay, now we're going to highlight with this brush. I'm going to wash it off, get all that dark color out of it, right? however you decide to wash yours. I really suggest you get something you can find on Amazon. I have an Amazon influencer shop where, you know, I try to highlight products that I use specifically. So if you guys want to use exactly what I use, you can definitely find them on my Amazon shop. Let's make that a little bit straighter. That line just bugging me. It was like this weird angle, and then the water wouldn't really look like that, right? That's how crazy I am about it. But yeah, we can decide over here what we're gonna do. Totally lost track. This dang water made me lose track of what I was saying, right? But it's okay. It is totally fine. Let's get this last little bit just to... I don't want to lose all of our cool little bit of land over here, right? We can still tell that it's getting a little bit bigger as it comes over towards us. Don't want to lose all that. And then while we're here with all this big thick paint, I'm just going to try to get as much of it inside of our little bush making brush, right? Your circular brush. And then we're going to come out with these giant bits of plants, right? Again, trying to get it as goopy as possible, get all that blue paint, all the dark, everything. We're going to totally black out this area down here, okay? We want it to be nice and dark. Don't want to be able to see through it. You know, around the edges and the tops, it's kind of cool to be able to see that little bit of water over the top there. But in our instance here, we don't want to see through anything along the bottom. I want it to be very dark down here. And we got to do our edges, right? We kind of forgot on this side to do our edges. There we go. We're going to finish that off. Remember what I said in the beginning, you always got to finish the sides. I mean, shoot, here we could put like a, you know, we could do a path leading through the forest. We could do another giant branch. We could do loads of stuff, which, you know, the more lessons that we get through, the crazier our paintings are going to become, right? So if you think this was, you know, fun or easy, the more and more we get, the more and more difficult they will be, right? And by the end, you'll be a pro just like me. All right, let's see. We're going to get more of our liquid white here into that sort of blue pile. I want it to be very, very light blue, almost white, okay? Come up here and see what it looks like. Again, we're just, at this time, we're just touching. You don't want to, you know, you don't want to push, you don't want to ruin that shape. You just want to touch it, and whatever deposits off of our brush and onto the tree, so be it. You know what I mean? You don't want to overdo it. Let's do this guy back here until about right there, and then he's going to sort of disappear behind this other tree. He's just sort of hanging out on the edge right now. Hanging out there. He probably got stepped on by a moose too, poor guy. Poor old guy. Alright, now over here. I'm going to come in, the same sort of thing. I'm trying to stay out of your guys' way. Sort of pushing in, and we're deciding what our tree looks like, right? How the branches live, okay? Let's see. Just want to brighten it up there. There we go. Now you can see this whole tree trunk, whole tree has just grown. We've got a little bit of darkness in between our two trees, right? That separation. You can even come back in and every so often add a little bit of trunk. And you'll be able to see it at different lights, different angles as you walk through your room or your hallway, and it will shine. It's very cool. It's this very neat little thing you don't even plan on until you're looking at it at the right light, and you're like, ooh, what is that? Like, I didn't even realize I painted that, right? Very neat little thing. All right, we're going to finish our bushes up down around the bottom here, and then we're going to call it done, guys, and you did an excellent job, right? All right, now I want to get a little bit of white, our titanium white, and I'm going to mix it with that blue and the liquid white. All right, because I want it to be nice and sloppy and goopy and messy. And also sticky. All sorts of adjectives, verbs. I don't know, I'm not an English major. I'm a painter, right? So I did okay in English class. You know, I wasn't the best English student, but I did okay. Doesn't matter anyway. Why are we talking about this? All right, a little bit of liquid white, a little bit of our little blue mixture over here, right? Very light colored blue. And then we're going to come in and again leave little bits of dark. When we do our, we're going to go sort of one at a time, right? We're leaving little spaces in between. Maybe there's a lighter bit up there. Maybe it's not so bright. Maybe we need some more paint on our brush. Who knows what we need. Okay, we're going to come over here. We're going to have this giant sucker. And again, I'm leaving these lighter areas, and as we get closer to the bottom, you can tell it's dark, right? We want to act like we can see straight down through that shadow and see the little critters down there, right? And we get this bit connects over here. All sorts of different things happening, right? Beautiful. What you don't want to do is overdo it. If you overdo it, then again, you're not going to have any depth. You're just all going to have this white or bluish sort of color, and it's just not going to look right. You're going to come back to the video and you're going to say, what did I do wrong? And go, I need to add more dark, right? It needs to be darker to start. And that way, these lights will really bounce off of that dark, right? That dark base color. Now, one of my favorite things, again, we got to add our little sticks and twigs, right? So we're going to come into our dark areas and just scrape wherever you want. You can throw them, you can even put them up out of the bush and into the tree. You can do whatever. Scrape them into those dark areas, and it looks like those are the branches that are holding everything up. And you can do it crisscross and back and forth, and or come up and go to the side, whatever you want to do. Make little branches out of it. Scrape in little different things, right? And that's what's going to give yours some character against, someone else doing the same thing. I like sometimes to come out here over our water, and we'll just scrape something straight up. And you're like, what? It makes people look like, what is that little thing down there? You're like, oh, it's a little stick. It's growing, right up on the edge of the water down there. But this looks very neat, guys. Just in an hour and a half, we came up with something with 3 colors, just right out of thin air. And, if yours looks half as good as this, I'm sure you're ecstatic. You had no idea that you could do something like this, right? Neither did I when I first started. I was literally so surprised. So I'm glad you guys had a great time. I hope that, if you need supplies, you go to my Amazon store, which is amazon.com/shop/happylandscapeart, right? You can get all the supplies that I have, everything you need to paint. So on our next video, in our next class, we can do something else. So we'll do some colors, and we'll add more details, right? The more and more videos that we go through, the crazier the paintings are going to become. So if you think, you had a good time and that you just are just flabbergasted that you could even come up with something like this, just right out of thin air, then me and you are going to have fun, right? So hope you guys have a great day or evening. Finish your glass of wine or whatever you had, your cocktail, and we'll see you guys on the next class. Don't be late for the next class, right? I'm going to take tardy. We'll get tardy check marks. Get a gold star if you're on time, okay? So, all right, we'll see you guys on the next class, and I can't wait to see what we do then, right? You guys take care. Have a great evening, and